This is the regular meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, September 17th. Please stand for our invocation led by Chaplain Pastor Tony Laguerre and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence following the pledge.
It's a great honor today to introduce our new Mobile Fire Department chaplain, Chaplain Arif Bradley, and he's going to lead us in our invocation today. Chaplain?
Good morning. Let us pray. Lord, we're grateful for this day that you have made. We pray, oh God, that you will continue to bless each of our elected officials, bless the businesses and churches and people who make up our great city. As the city council has come for business today, oh God, we pray that you will be in the midst of everything that is said and done in this place. We thank you, oh God, that you continue to bless our city, and we continue to look forward to all of the great things that you have in store for the city of Mobile. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
If you would please remain standing for a moment of silent prayer. Today, I ask you, if you would, to remember Sheila Ross and her family in silent prayer. Dr. Sheila Compton Ross has been a beacon of light for our community and in her family, and she just recently lost a very hard-fought battle with breast cancer and died last week. Her funeral services are this afternoon. Sheila was a driving force behind the creation of the USA Health University Hospital's renowned regional care facility for strokes, and she was truly a force to be reckoned with. If you knew Sheila, you knew that. Widely beloved by her co-workers, staff, and community. If you would again, please remember Sheila and her family. A lot of you know her husband, Jay Ross, who is a county attorney and has been a very valued member of the community as well. So again, Sheila Compton Ross, if you would remember her in a moment of silent prayer.
Roll call, President Small.
Here.
Vice President Gregory.
Here.
Councilmember Penn.
Here.
Councilmember Carroll.
Here.
Councilmember Reynolds.
Here.
Councilmember Daves. Councilmember Woods.
Here.
Statement of rules.
And good morning, everyone.
Morning.
It's good to see everyone this morning. Welcome to our September 17th, 2024 meeting. At this meeting, we do have rules. At this time, I ask if anyone have any type of electronic device, including cell phone, please at this time put on the off or the vibrator position. The off or the vibrator position. Any person that desiring to address the council must sign in indicating the ordinance, the resolution, a public hearing agenda item before entering the meeting. When addressing the council, the speaker must give his or her name. Any person that is desiring to speak to the council on a non-agenda item must contact the city clerk office no later than 2:00 p.m. the Thursday prior to the council meeting. The subject that he or she wishes to express to the Mobile City Council must be identified and pertain to the city of Mobile business. Anyone who has not given the city clerk office proper notice will not be allowed to address the council. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to address the council. A bell will indicate the sound of the end of 2 minutes. 1 minute remains for summarizing. Second bell indicates that your time has expired. When addressing the council, there will be no personal address to any individual council members. All statements are to be made to the chair, who will recognize any council member who wishes to respond. To maintain decorum, there will be no undue applause and or public outcry allowed. Madam Clerk.
Communications from Mayor Stimson.
Good morning. It's good to see everyone this morning. Thank you for coming. First, I asked Chief Jackson if he would let's do the Officer of the Month. So if you could go ahead and do that, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Staff, council, come on up, Carter. Before you today is Officer Carter Johnson. He has just over a year on with us, but he is the engine on First Precinct. In the past month, he made multiple drug arrests. In one situation, over 3 pounds of marijuana was seized. Multiple gun arrests, one which will be taken federally. He had 102 calls for service, 60 backings, 15 felonies, and 46 misdemeanors. This kid does not stop. He's looking for crime, and he's helping our community every day. Officer Carter Johnson.
And so having just a few moments with Officer Johnson prior to this meeting and finding out about his background, I found out that he grew up in Huntsville and went to Virginia Military Institute and graduated, where he played football for 4 years. I think he's 220 pounds now. He's 260 back then, so he's gone from hitting people on the football field to working in First Precinct. And I see Tony McCarron up there smiling, and I was talking about one of the things that we had tried to do several years ago was to find some of the best and brightest, to bring under the police department. And that the police department was very skeptical about hiring a fireman to recruit policemen. But Officer Johnson assured me that Tony McCarron was one of the best recruiters that he had ever run across. So kudos to you, Tony. And thank you, Officer. Congratulations to you. Yeah. So my two announcements today really have to do with approvals by the City Council. We have nominated two individuals for positions that need City Council approval. The first one has to do with Chief Jackson. Interim Chief Randy Jackson, several months ago, when I appointed him to be the interim chief, he had my full confidence at that time. I was convinced that he had the leadership skills necessary to lead the department in a very challenging time, and that's proved to be correct. There's been a lot of stability that I think that's been exhibited over the last few months. And I think that has to do with not just Chief Jackson, but also the command staff that has fallen in behind him to make sure that they will continue to build the public trust that it takes to have an effective police department. So Chief Jackson, as most of you, some of you know, maybe others don't, but he's served the community in the police department for 29 years. And my hope is that the City Council will make him the Chief of Police when that comes up on the agenda. The other one has to do with Shonda Smith. Shonda is, Shonda, everybody may not know you. Will you stand up just for a moment? They all know Chief Jackson. If you should know Shonda, thank you very much, because I know you don't like to stand up like that. But Shonda came from New Orleans, and we hired her to take over the Parks and Rec department. And we really did need it to be transformed. And so after going through the interviewing process, she was selected. And she came in with a vision, and she came in with the knowledge of what goes on across the nation in other Parks and Rec departments. And, during the interviewing process, she would say, Mayor, would it be okay if we do this? Can I do that? And I'm just sitting there thinking, gosh, I sure hope you can do all of that. And sure enough, she took a department that really needed leadership and has done a magnificent job, taking basically the same individuals that were there, but giving it some esprit de corps, some enthusiasm. And so today, anybody that goes to our parks, not only do they see the benefits of the city, with the approval of the City Council investing in those parks, they see a very active and engaged department of individuals that are trying to make sure when you come to one of our parks that you're going to have a great experience. And so Shonda has done a magnificent job of that. And so she did such a good job of that in Parks and Rec. When we had a void that we needed to fill in the Public Works area, she was promoted to be the Deputy Executive Director. And she let us know that she really didn't know a whole lot about that. But what we knew about Shonda was that she would get a grip on it. She would figure out what needs to be done, to transform things, to make sure that we have that public-facing, friendly face, embracing things that need to be done so that our citizens recognize that Public Works, are there to serve them. So at this time, what we've done is that we're making Shonda, or asking the City Council to make her the first female Executive Director of Public Works. And I'm confident that y'all have had experience with Shonda, and look forward to y'all's approval in this promotion for her. So thank y'all very much. And that concludes my remarks, Mr. President.
Adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Agenda's adopted.
Appeals, we have requests for waiver of the noise ordinance on October 19th on South Reed Avenue, October 20th on McGill Avenue, November 2nd at Bragg Mitchell Mansion, November 2nd on Bayfront Road, April 20th, Melavana Park, and September 23rd in Langen Park Pavilion.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Appeal passes.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Willie Gaston Jr.
I would say good morning. I'm here on behalf of the officials because I'm an Alabama high school
Let's get your full
official.
name.
Willie Gaston Jr. Okay, my name is Willie Gaston Jr. I am an Alabama high school official. And I'm here to petition the council for help in safety around the parks for Little League games. One of the things are people come out to these Little League games and they feel like the officials are there for their abuse. And we're not. We're fathers, we're grandfathers, we're mothers, we're sisters, we're grandfathers. And the problem that we're having is instead of it being about the children, it's about the coaches' egos and the parents' egos. They want a winner, but they feel like the officials are the hindrance in that. We are not a hindrance. We're just there to facilitate a game to make it be played honestly and help the kids learn and teach. Last year, we had an official after a game because a parent didn't like a call get attacked. Nothing was done. I had a game this past weekend where a fight broke out, not just on the field, but both sidelines cleared, parents crossed barricades, and it just turned into chaos. And I just feel like as officials and the children, when they're in a game and we're on the field, there needs to be some type of order kept as a deterrent. Because of the simple fact is, if there's no consequences to the action, they're going to think it's okay. So I'm just asking the council to help in facilitating this, to make it safer for officials and these children. Because of the chaos on Saturdays in these Little League games, we have a shortage of officials. And if people can see that the officials and these games are being taken care of and being done in order, that may help in that. But that's just my opinion. So I just want you all to just help us feel safer at these games on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gaston, for coming down. This is the first time that we are hearing about this. Is this the city teams or this is private teams?
City teams.
What city teams is it?
How can I say? It's the football, primarily, and some of the basketball games. Now,
what teams?
The teams are MEMS. That's the last one I was at, High Point. And I'm going to say where it's primarily on the minority parks.
Because High Point is in Pritchard, correct?
Right.
And Mills, that's a city team? That's
Yes.
A city. Okay.
What's the last week? We were talking about last Saturday. Which game were you talking about from last Saturday?
It was a 12-year-old game
And where was that?
at MEMS Park.
At Mims.
And it was it ended up being a later game because we got behind on the schedule.
Ms. Smith?
Good morning. Thank you for the clarification. So
One of the things that we've been trying to manage is understanding the difference between a private league and the city programs. So what you're speaking of, Mr. Gaston, for the football is a private program that comes into our facilities and rents out the parks to play. So MIMS is a city park. However, those are private leagues that come in and do their programming. So we really don't have control over that. I do want to though bring up, because you are correct about, we had last year with basketball quite a few. So when he talked about High Point, a lot of those outside teams come in and play in our leagues. And we did have quite a few issues with coaches fighting with the referees, with the referee, with the people in the audience, and it became a problem. We worked with police department; they did close patrol. In some of the cases, we even had to have police officers there. One of the things we did put in place was that referees can hold the game. So, for example, if they started acting up, stop the game, because at the end of the day, we can let the time run, because this is about fun, right? This is not about winning. And if it comes to that, we could just stop the game. So we have tried to implement rules and regulations to manage that. As far as the football piece, though, that is not us. We run flag football. We haven't ran tackle football since COVID, actually. Once COVID happened, it never came back into the city's program. But I don't, we can talk on the side about some strategies of how we can work with them, with the private leagues, and how to secure that. But that is also, those private leagues have to put in rules and regulations that a lot of people are not going to be happy about, but it also makes it safer for the referees.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Smith. Thank you, Mr. Guest, for coming.
Mr. President.
Mr. Woods, and then Mr. Carroll.
Ms. Smith, real quick, do we have, I guess, as far as the parks are concerned, especially the athletic facility parks, is there a code of conduct that we have posted as you enter into these areas that theoretically could be enforced if someone decided to show themselves?
We're doing new signage now. We did put some code of conducts in some of the locations. I'm not sure if it's at all of the locations. But I'm going to be honest, code of conduct is something that's written. If it's not being reinforced and no one is mandating that, the behavior continues to happen. So it really needs to be the league that's running that set the rules and stop the games. Because again, if you've been paying attention to nationwide, that they have gotten very unruly with a lot of the games. And if that's not put in place, the rules doesn't matter.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Carroll.
Thank you. Ms. Smith, when I was coaching in the City League, the coaches were required to go through an training period. Plus, we were required to have a certification by the National Youth, whatever program service it was. And we had to have our credentials at all times. Part of those certifications and trainings is that if any one of our parents or players became unruly, it was an automatic shutdown of the game, a forfeit you, and the gym was closed at that time, and the opposing team was announced as the winner. Do we still have that program in place? And it was run by Coach Shepard and Coach Flukers were the ones that put this in place. So I'm thinking it should be still in place, shouldn't it?
So one of the things, so the state of Alabama is actually the only state that has a coaching mandated program. It's called Coach Safely. All of the coaches that come through the city of Mobile Parks and Recreation Department have to go through that training. However, that is not required for private leagues, because it's just, so someone comes and say, hey, I want to rent this field because I want to do a 12-week program. They run their program. We don't regulate what they do. We don't want to put we don't put any guidelines. We don't do any of that. So I can't tell you what coaches are required to do in private leagues.
I was referencing the basketball games he was talking about and what you talked about in earlier when you said during basketball season. And yes. Coach Shepard and Coach Flukers had a strict mandate that we all had to follow. And I'm hoping that that's still in place, because we had very little incident with the two of them making sure that policy was enforced. And maybe we've kind of gotten away from it a little bit. I haven't coached now in about 8-9 years, so I don't know what's still happening, but it was strictly enforced by those guys. They did not allow it, and the people in the gym didn't allow it because they knew what the outcome was if there was an incident. And this was girls or boys basketball. I haven't
I
coached.
think
in
some
City
of
League.
that has fell off. We've now reinvented that because I'm the same with you with sports background that you control the game early on, and I think a lot of the staff were not comfortable to manage that. And the power of shutting down a gym
Yeah.
makes people act right.
Right.
And
It mandates the game, and it
they
mandates
picked that up this
behavior
last
policy.
season.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's good to know. And now with, uh, I'm concerned about city facilities, and in case something happens on city properties and there's an incident, I mean, are these youth leagues providing us with any type of insurance that holds us harmless or protects us from
Yes.
any type of thing
Yes.
that happens? Okay. And then what about property damage or anything like that? All of that's covered under there.
They have to get a liability insurance up to 300. I think we're kind of left. I think it's up to 300 or 400,000 that they have to get each season. I don't know the exact amount, but they
And
do have to get insurance.
So the only thing that we don't have in place is a facility use policy, which we could probably implement based.
No, we have that as well.
Does
They have to
behavior
sign
also
off.
fall within the facility use policy?
Yes.
Okay. Thank
Mr. President,
Mr. Reynolds.
good healthy banner with the referee is okay. You know, back and forth banner, I think's fine. But when it deteriorates to profanity and eventually fighting, I think the city should probably take some action to trespass those individuals. I would imagine that needs to be reported to the city so that they could respond to the incident. Has there been a situation where the city has taken the position that we, have to trespass certain individuals from this public park? Say
We
Mims
haven't,
Park.
but again, what you just hit on is the same as we have to be notified. So a lot of times, we had an incident 2 years ago at one of the parks down in DIP, and it was again not a city event; it was an outside event, and we got involved and got the police involved. But we only know about it when we're informed.
Okay, so I think it's imperative that referees, parents, organizers of these events, take the appropriate action to notify the police when these sort of incidents occur. I mean, we certainly don't want to be calling the police out to settle a dispute on a simple penalty or something like that. That's the referee's job. But when it elevates itself to being, say, against a city policy, I think everybody should report that to the city so that the city can take the appropriate action to remove those people from the property. But the city must have a policy, in my opinion, so when something rises to that level, that the city will take a trespassing action or some action against some individual. So is there a current code of conduct or policy in place that would, say, require the city to take action, or when they should or when they can?
So when you keep saying city, I want to redirect. It's the police.
The
If they
city is the
contact
property owner, is my point. The city is the property owner, and therefore, has its terms of use for anybody who's using the facility. I understand they're leasing the facility, but according to the terms that the city has put in place in order to use it. So the city would have to be the one to trespass someone from the property or suspend them or whatever it is.
So it's addressing the organizers, but it's also the other part, which is addressing the behavior, which is the police that address the behavior. We can address the organizer and how their constituents that are coming to that event should respond. And so who the penalty goes to is actually the organizer about managing, because these folks are here because you invited them here. So it's like when you have an event, you've invited 100 people to this event, you are responsible for the 100 people who showed up and how they act. If they act inappropriately, that you have to call the police address that, but us as the city then holds the organizer responsible for how their guests act.
The organizer to trespass somebody from their organization,
And we will support them. And we will support them. So that we've had incidents that happened before, and we support, because we don't know who those people are. We're not on site. We only know what the organizers tell us.
I'd encourage everyone who has these sort of fighting incidents or whatever to take the appropriate action. Call the city, call the police, and have these people that are causing this problem removed from the property.
So I want to point out something, Mr. President, and and it correlates with what Ms. Smith just said. You have to understand that inappropriate behavior is not necessarily criminal behavior, and that's why she's making the distinction of if we deal with the organizer with inappropriate behavior, and even when it becomes criminal, that's the police. So if there's a fight, understand that our police officers, if it's a misdemeanor, they can only take action if they've witnessed it or you have a direct complainant who is actually signing off. So they have limited power to deal with misdemeanors unless they've actually seen it, or you're going to have somebody actually swear out a warrant. The other part of it is, back to Ms. Smith's point, is we as a government entity cannot police behavior that isn't in some way illegal, right? That's not something that we can do unless we're dealing with the terms. That's why she's saying we deal with the organized. That's something they've actively agreed to do. That's why we do it that way.
Mr. Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, going back to my coaching days and to my AAU days as coaching and putting on these tournaments, and Danny Cordy, I don't know if Danny's here or not, but Danny can attest to this. When you are a coach or a facilitator of a team or a league, and you are using a facility, the person that hires and pays the referees is also responsible for hiring and having security on site for the same issue. That is every game. That is every time the gym opens. That's every time somebody plays. It is the responsibility of the team, the host team, or the host organization that hires the referees to also hire security or police for that action or that game or that tournament or whatever it is that day. And if that is not part of our policy, then we should make it part of our policy, because that's the way it's been done forever. And that's coming from direct experience in doing this for 26 years that I did it. If we hired the referees, we hired the police officers. That was part of the policy. So if we're not doing that, then I think it would be horrible if we don't have any type of security on site when kids are playing or people are interacting. Then we should. If we play a football game at Ladd, there's security. If we play a football game at the Lip, there's security. If we play a football game at Davidson, this is a public school system. They have security. Whoever hires the referees also hires the security. And that just should be part of our policy at it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Gatson, for coming down. Madam Clerk.
Michael Meeks.
Good morning, council members, citizens of Mobile. I'm Michael Meeks. I'm here today to address a significant violation of the Public Records Act and broader issues denying citizens their due process rights. In my case, the council took action that resulted in the destruction of my property without adhering to proper legal procedures. Costs were assessed against me without an opportunity for due process or defense. To challenge these actions, I requested access to the public official bond documents. Thank you. Essentially, not only for verifying council's authority, but also for providing citizens with recourse when their rights are infringed. These bonds are required by law to protect the public from abuse of power. They serve as legal safeguard, allowing us to hold officials accountable when our rights are violated. Yet for over 60 days, I have been denied access to these crucial documents, which are being concealed behind locked doors. This reflects a troubling absence of transparency. Statute 361245A states, upon receipt or request for a public record as provided, Section 361243, a public officer shall promptly, but in all cases not more than 20 business days after the date of receipt of the request, make one or more of the following responses to the requester in writing. One, respond that access to the request public records will be provided. That's abbreviated. Respond with an estimate of the cost. Deny the request in full, or four, deny the request in part and grant the request in part by providing access. My request for PRR 2024-412 and 2024-480 have not been handled with that standard of care. The city's required for citizens to file FOIA requests for seemingly all public records, often resulting in delays of months or no response at all, further underscores the lack of transparency. This practice violates the Alabama Public Records Act, which mandates that records be accessible and promptly available for public inspection. By obstructing access and hiding records, the city is not only violating our rights, but also obstructing justice. The probate record should offer a good example of the expected standard where a citizen can walk in and access records through a portal. Furthermore, the city's so-called hearings are nothing more than a fraudulent proceeding. When the city acts as both plaintiff and judge, provides citizens with only 3 minutes to speak, and offers no opportunity for witness testimony or judicial review, it fails to provide due process. It is in fact a sham. Without access to records and fair hearings, citizens are deprived of their due process rights and any recourse for the wrong done to them. It's unfortunate that it's not an isolated incident, but appears to be a pattern of misconduct and unethical behavior. I urge the council to address these violations immediately. Specifically, I request that the council instruct the clerk to provide access to the public official bonds without further delay. If the council or clerk cannot provide proof of these bonds, I recommend that they suspend taking any further public actions until they can demonstrate
Mr.
compliance with the
Meeks.
law and restore the necessary transparency.
Mr. Meeks, yeah. Are you finished?
I had few more sentences,
Go ahead.
but that gets the point across. I mean, it's just 20 days and no response. I followed up multiple times. I still haven't got response. I've escalated up the chain of command from Portia to other members, and just there's no response. And if the public official bonds are required by law and you can't prove you have them, then there should be no official action taking place, period.
So who did you submit your request to at first?
I submitted it. I initially asked the assistant clerk for it, and she directed me to do a FOIA request, and I did that through the portal.
And you didn't get no response after that, or?
The very first response came a few days later to contact the Secretary of State, and I immediately replied that I'd already reached out to the Secretary of State to not cancel or close my request because they do not maintain those records. Nor does the county clerk, nor does the probate court. So the only place that makes sense for the record holder, if you go to the website and read, is the clerk of court should have those records. And they're supposed to be in a bound book and properly indexed.
I'm going to ask our
Clerk
attorney.
of court is across the hall.
Yeah.
Before we go too much further, could you just tell us what it was you were looking for and what your request was? I don't think we
I
got that in
requested
your...
the public official bonds for the council members.
The what?
The public official bonds for the council members and the mayor.
The
For
public,
action,
I'm sorry, the public what?
public official bonds,
Public official box?
correct.
Bonds.
Bonds, oh.
So let me help y'all out. You all may remember that Mr. Meek was here some time ago over demolition of a particular property. That property was demolished in accordance with state law, in accordance with our rules. There was a public hearing. All of those things happened. So Mr. Meek doesn't actually own the property. But he got notice, and no assessment has been made towards him. It's been assessed with the property. I think, as you all well know, from a number of years, the liens they don't go against a particular person. We lien against the property so as not to saddle any particular citizen. And so this property was the subject of a number of different filings, ultimate litigation, and split. In the court orders, we have them in our file. That's what this is about.
Just to correct the record, it was posted for 1111 Spring Hill Avenue, and they demolished the property at 1107 Spring Hill Avenue on a different lot and a different address.
And so, Mr. President, I want to also give some clarity. So what he's asking about is a state law that is general. And as any lawyer worth his or her salt will tell you, the specific overrides the general. So as you all well know, Mobile is covered by Class 2 state law. We constantly refer to as Zogby Marietta. And so Zogby does not require the council or anyone to have a specific bond except for one particular officer, and it's not the council and it's not the mayor. So what he's asking for, I don't think we actually can produce. However, we will look to see whether or not there's anything that's applicable to his response. And if it's a public record, we're more than happy to give it to him. But I've looked at this, and I'm not aware in the 10 years that I've been here that any council person has ever had a bond. I mean, I'm not aware of it, nor is there any requirement in Zybe that you all have a bond, because what you all do is in a legislative capacity, and you don't handle money, and you don't go down and physically tear down property. I mean, what you do is you vote and you create legislation, create legislative policy. So we'll take a second look at it to try to resolve this, but I just wanted to hearken you back to where it came from originally.
All right, thank you, Mr. Woods. Madam Clerk, Mr. Linder.
I would also add, I consulted with the clerk's office on Mr. Meeks's request. These bonds do not exist. Therefore, his request was fully responded to with nothing because there are no bonds to give Mr. Meeks. He has it in his head, apparently, that these do exist, but they don't.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Linder. Madam Clerk.
Amber Ward.
Amber Ward speaking on the funding of the library. There are $8.2 million taxpayer dollars allotted to the Mobile Public Libraries. Part of that money goes into putting inappropriate books in the children's shelves. It was discussed last week about the pornography and sexual content that is on the shelves for our children, and the point was made to be careful what we asked for, since it seemed like we were asking for information to be banned. I'll be more clear. Information is facts provided or learned about something or someone. Fictional literature is a form of prose that describes imaginary events and people, something that is invented or untrue. So, since fictional pornography is not factual, it's therefore by definition not considered information. Informational books are texts that have been burned throughout history, or mainly religious or historical texts. No one is asking for books to be burned or banned. We want pornography out of the hands and faces of children, as it should be. There are not regular Bibles in the youth sections of the libraries. Children's Bibles, which are illustrated and only have certain stories in them, are in the children's sections and are age appropriate. There are only history-based books about the Bible, like the lands and the animals of that time, and books about the Bible. There are limited options of regular Bibles in the library, not one in every language or denomination. As far as content, prostitution, fornication, adultery, and wars are all mentioned in the Bible, along with other religious texts like the Quran. And there are stories about those things, but they're all portrayed as wrong, and there are not visual representations of them in the Bible. The Bible is a religious and historical text and has been proven to be more historically and archaeologically accurate than any other ancient book. It has been consistently confirmed, even down to minute details. So yes, those things are mentioned because they're part of history. As far as eunuchs go, they are castrated men often used in many cultures around the world throughout history to guard women's living areas or to watch over a harem. It did not have to do with sexuality or sexual orientation. Our taxpayer dollars have nothing to do with being able to look up something on your phone, so that's irrelevant. Besides, most pornography sites have age restrictions, and there are laws that enforce that. There are also parental controls for phones, tablets, and computers to prevent children from looking up anything inappropriate for their age. So everything isn't accessible to everyone on a phone. If we're trying to get proper information in people's hands, then it makes sense to put more Bibles in the libraries and put fictional pornography where it belongs.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Carroll.
since that statement was directed at my statement from last week, let me just be simple. It's not the responsibility of the library to parent the child or to protect the child. It's the responsibility of the parent to protect the child. So if you want your child to go in the library and not see something, then you should be there to protect your child. So if you let your child go in there by himself and he walks up on one of 1,000 books and you're not there to protect him, and he or she is of a minor age, then I have a problem with that. It is not the responsibility of the library to protect your child, period. It's the responsibility of the parent.
Madam Clerk, thank you, Ms. Ward.
Oh, one more thing. While I'm fired up. You can sit down because I'm not talking to you. If we're talking about pornography, then we need to turn the TVs off. We need to turn off 911 because every episode has some man kissing a man or some lady kissing a man. Inappropriate for a child to see. But do you govern what your child's watching on TV? I'm willing to bet 80% of you don't. Every time you see a movie on the television or at the movies today, there's some type of irresponsible view or something that we're looking at. All the superhero movies, there's something on them that we don't want our children to see. But you want to pick on the library? Think about what we're seeing in the public right now. Think about where we're seeing it, all the places you see it. Just a simple commercial now has the today's way of living represented in it. But we're not picking on that. You want to pick on the one historical place that all the knowledge in the world has been over centuries in our libraries. If you don't want a child to go in there, don't get them a library card. Don't let them go in there. Don't let them check out the book. Protect your child yourself if you know it's something in there that they shouldn't see.
Madam Clerk.
Reggie Hill regarding resolution 09885, 09859, 08889, 08890, 21893, 03899, 03900, and 09902.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. For the sake of time, I have to address some of the more pertinent issues for today. I'd like to begin with 08-890. As our finance chair, and probably Ms. Gregg will remember, this is the one vehicle that you know you have no trouble with me no trouble out of me regarding. I'm appreciative of the street sweepers. Please keep those coming. Let's go to something more pertinent, though. I wanted to say this for next week, but it seems that this may be rushed. I don't know why it's being rushed. We normally have things of this matter, this high regard, placed on the agenda for the first read, and then we push them over to the next. And that's 03899 and 03900. These are the appointments of Ms. Smith and Mr. Jackson. I'm concerned, number one, because after Mr. DeLapp made his remarks about the contract at the Civic Center property, dealing with what the Army Corps of Engineers would be allowed to do and would have the discretion of doing, with us not having any idea what would be going on. A couple of weeks later, he was gone. And we have not learned anything that's going on with that. As well, I'm a little threatened with the appointment that we're looking at towards with the police chief. And this is nothing personal to him. We've met before in previous times when Chief Prime was here. But seeing the scope of how these things are moving and seeing that we're having no pull against what some of these members over here want to do, that's a threat. And we know what has happened to individuals personally. Unless we have people that are going to be critical thinkers and of their own like-minded these positions, that could be alarming and not to the best interest of our people. But we can come back to that later. 21,893, the $120K for the miscellaneous drainage. What are we going to be doing for 7 districts with $120,000 dealing with drainage? I'm really confused on that. And as well, why did this come up into just a regular ordinance instead of being under the CIP money? So is this coming from the surplus funding, the unassigned fund balance? Is this the contingency information that Mr. Barber mentioned that just rolled over because we didn't spend it the year before? Or how does that work? Lastly, let's look at, please, 08859. How is it that we're going to vote on a budget that the public has not seen? I know that we're going to be saying that we're going to offer an amendment today, but this was not published to the people. That's very dangerous. That's the first thing. Are we going to have a review of the items that don't come before a vote? We know that there's these different consulting firms that come up, like All States Consulting Services, Caption Consulting, all these type of things. And there are these entities that are getting paid that may not be coming before here, and the public is definitely not aware of it. And how much are we budgeting for the citations? Has there been a change within this new budget that's coming out? Because we know that we're actually putting a line item in place for the people that we're going to arrest or ticket on the streets. And we know some of those things are egregious and unnecessary. And so those fines will never be challenged in court. So, we're not going to be too expressive about it today here, but that's something that is of concern. And please remember, with the CIP, we have opportunity now to really look at this drainage component. We have some resources that are in place. May I have an additional minute just to CIP? It's positive. It's positive. Anyone dealing with the CIP?
Does anyone grant it?
Get a minute. Thank you so much, Mr. Pan. This CIP, we have an opportunity with nearly $50 million that have been allotted for this. I think that this is a chance for us to really look at how we could take maybe just 2 years. Look at just 2 years where we do exactly drainage across the board. Then we can revisit this idea about splitting the resources across the board in each of the 7 districts equally. However, I would like to see as well where we can make that an equitable approach. Because even if we take the 2 years, we still know that there's a lot of damage in districts 1 through 3. So we need to really take this opportunity. We have these resources there, and this is more so the people's money than anything. We get a lot of federal grants and state grants, these type of things, but the primary resource for the city of Mobile is sales tax. And so this is the primary place that sales tax goes to. So why not at least look at 2 years where we can take the CIP funding and put it towards drainage? Because it doesn't matter what part of the city you're in. It rained a good 10, 15 minutes. Thank God we missed Francine. There's a flooding issue here in the city of Mobile. Thank you for yielding the floor.
Valenia Green regarding 09859.
Apostle Valina Green, 603 Delaware Street, Mobile, Alabama, 36603, the Downer Bay community. I come before you today to ask for a response. I know that I've been told that I've been blackballed by a certain city councilman, where he told the rest of you not to fund me with my needs and efforts with the poor in my community. So I asked for a response in writing. Why, when I've asked for help from each district for funding when I've served your people, I've asked for help when my daughter was passing out prom dresses in each of your districts to needy girls. I asked for your help with the homeless that come out of each and every one of your districts. And while Waterfront Mission is led not to serve, has a day program they claim, and the people are not allowed in the building and to be served. But we continually to help them. And why was I ushered into a meeting with Waterfront Mission and told to feed the homeless and the disadvantaged improper food, to feed the Muslims and the Jews pork, to not offer fresh fruits and vegetables to the homeless, the needy, the downtrodden? Why? Why does the apartment complexes in my neighborhood are underserved? Why do the people have to live without heating and cooling and live in black mold and disgust? Why aren't the yards maintained over there in those apartment complexes where the elderly reside? And you have a capital improvement fund? And you're called to serve the people? Where is the money for the poor? And don't tell me about being a Christian. Because if you're a Christian, you living by Matthew 25, 35 through 40, where it says, when you've done it to the least of them, you've done it unto me. So that means that you are hypocrites. And you've lied. And I know some of you think the poor don't come out of your community and you're not interested in it. But I've served your people. So from this point forward, I will send an invoice when I serve your people. That happened over there on Broad Street, I had to clean up the mess behind it. I had to counsel those people that was over there. Why is a laundromat in my community left to have trash, drug dealings going on, water in the floor? It's dilapidated and says that I don't have to follow the rules because of the councilman.
All right, thank you.
So I expect
Thank you.
a response in 12 Ordinance days. is held over. 64050. Consider the proposed modification of a previously approved planned unit development for property located at 1480 Satchel Page Drive. 64051. Consider the proposed conditional use permit for the property located at 6411 Howells Ferry Road. 64052. Consider the proposed rezoning of the property located at 6411 Howells Ferry Road from R3 to R3.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item pass.
CIP resolutions held over. 09885. Transfer monies from CIP Signal Detection Citywide to Grant Match Holding Account to be used as a match for Alabama Department of Transportation grant.
So moved. Second. Properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item pass.
Resolutions held over 09859 adopt the 2024-2025 General Fund Capital Improvement Fund and Convention Center Fund budgets.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Days.
I'd like to propose an amendment to adjust it to the last circulated draft in the hands of the clerk.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion on an amendment? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Amendment passed. Going back to original. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item pass.
08886 approved purchase order to Cone for Convention Center escalator motor repair. 08887 approved purchase order to BC Fabrication for aluminum traffic signal generator enclosures. 08888 approved purchase order to VC3 for annual renewal of data security backup and recovery services. 08889 approved purchase order to Vector Solutions for annual renewal of learning performance management and apparatus software. 08890 approved purchase order to Sansum equipment for street sweepers. 08891 approved purchase order to North American Fire Equipment for fire hose. 09892 transfer funds from General Fund Administrative Services to Capital Project Fund for big document storage. 21893 authorized contract with Michael Baker International for miscellaneous drainage repairs. 25894 grant a permanent non-exclusive easement to CSX Transportation for the construction, operation, inspection, maintenance, replacement, and removal of a rail transportation track facility.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes.
Consent resolutions being introduced, 37896.
Move to waive the rules for immediate consideration of Resolution 37-896.
Second. Properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk?
37896, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a retail beer, table wine, off-premises only license to S&G Food Mart on Pleasant Valley Road.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item pass.
CIP resolutions being introduced, 01898.
By council rules, this resolution will lay over for 1 week.
Resolutions being introduced for the first time, 01897 through 31905.
Move to waive the rules for immediate consideration of resolutions 03-899 and 03-900, with the other resolutions being laid over for 1 week.
Second. Properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk?
03, do we want to take these separately or together?
Separate.
Okay, 03899, appointment of Shonda Smith as Executive Director of Public Works.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? I would like to say if this passed today, congratulations, Ms. Smith. As the mayor has stated earlier, you start off in Parks and Rec until where you're at now. To me, that's greatness. That's achievement. Just seeing somebody going up the ranks. And also would like to commend the mayor for having a diverse administration. I think that you was the first one to appoint a African American attorney, city attorney. Of course, the fire chief, Chief Mars. Now we have a first woman to serve as public works, and I appreciate you having a diverse administration and everything. In other discussion,
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Mr. Vice President.
We haven't voted officially yet, but I think this will be a unanimous vote in favor of naming Shonda Smith, the Executive Director. And Shonda, I just want to congratulate you. Thank you for all the hard work you've already put in with Parks and Rec, and when you came on board, doing even more work with Public Works, Public Services. So I commend you on what you have done. Look forward to working with you even more. Shonda is one of those people, when you call her or when you email her with a problem or an issue, she responds immediately and gets things taken care of. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. Penn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Congratulations. I know we haven't voted yet, but like Councilman Vice President Gregory stated, I believe that we're you're going to have unanimous consent. But Shonda is going to do an amazing job. We was in D.C. and she was working already, meeting with different people. She said, Corey, I got ideas, and we coming back, and hopefully a lot of people ain't gonna be mad at me, including you. And so, but I'm excited about hearing just the transition and just seeing the growth. But we're excited, and I want to join in with our president. Thank you, Mayor, for showing that diversity. We need that not just from administration, but we also need that through our companies. And I think for the mayor, the CEO of a city, to show that, I think it's send examples to others through our companies, through the city of Mobile, that's what we're expecting as well, that our leaders should represent our city. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other discussion?
Mr. President, I'll add on to real quick, if you don't mind. Congratulations on this vote. I know, again, we haven't voted yet, but been a fan of yours, John, since you've been working for the city. Having the opportunity to work with you the last year has really been great. I think a testament to who you are and your character and the work you do was a couple weeks ago with the event that they held for you. So I just want to say congratulations. Look forward to the work you're going to do, and thank you for all you do.
Mr. President.
Mr. Carroll.
I'm just going to say congratulations in fear of the love that she might show me later. She has in particular way of getting my attention when she wants something. It's kind of with a firm handshake and a quick jab to my right shoulder. So congratulations. I can't let that go. Congratulations. It's going to be a pleasure working with you at a different level now and seeing if we can't make things go the way they want to go.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
No.
Did you want to say something, Mayor?
I'll wait till you vote.
All opposed? Item passed.
Unanimously.
Okay. Mr. Mayor.
I was just going to make a comment. Thank you for the comments from the council, but rest assured that the people that you mentioned, all of them are in the positions that they are currently in because they're the best qualified.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
03900, appointment of William Randy Jackson as Chief of Police.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Mr. Reynolds.
I've had many opportunities to meet with interim Chief Jackson while he was assistant chief. He's been very responsive to the issues that I and constituents have raised in District 4. He's got a apparent very good relationship with Captain James, who is over the 2nd Precinct, and I look forward to the service that you're going to put forward to the city. I think you're going to do a fantastic job. I think you'll make the city proud as a strong leader of men, and we look forward to the continued success of the department. It's not an easy job to be a chief of police. I've never, and I couldn't imagine doing it. And I'm glad we've got a good, strong leader like yourself who's willing to put yourself out there and take on this very difficult task. So I look forward to working with you going forward.
Mr. President.
Vice President.
I echo what Councilman Reynolds had said. Thank you for agreeing to step out and take on this extra responsibility. When you came on as interim chief, I was happy to see that. You have been with the city for 29 years on the police department, longer than I've been on the city council, but I have known you all of those years and have worked with you in many different capacities. And when you did step into the role, it was continued service. You have always taken my calls, helped with issues within the district, and of course citywide. So I just thank you for the years you have served and your willingness to take on this very difficult task going forward. Like Ben said, it is not an easy job. So thank you, and I thank you all for being here today and supporting Chief Jackson, and we hope to be calling him chief and not interim chief after we vote, so thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. Penn.
I just want to join in with my colleagues. Chief Jackson, man, you had the opportunity to talk many times. We play around who has the best high school. Of course, you went to Viger, and I went to LaFleur, but we share that green together. But I want to commend you. You're always answering questions anytime I call you, and of course to see the command staff here to support you. And one of the things that in our conversations, I tell people all the time, I can imagine being a police officer, and I share that with you all. You know, I commend your service because the work you all do is just amazing. So thank you for your service. Thank you for stepping up. 29 years of service is just is amazing. So again, thank you for everything, and thank you all as well.
Mr. President.
Mr. Woods.
Interim Chief Jackson, hopefully, obviously, it seems to appear that we'll call you Chief Jackson. I've had the opportunity to work with you in other capacities over the last 14 years. Did the math, and that just means that I'm getting kind of older, I guess. But I just want to say that I'm very proud, and I'm glad that you stepped up to the plate. And you know, it's going to be an experience for you, obviously. But I know you're well respected with the police force, and I look forward to seeing the great things that you do. And looking forward to watching and seeing you lead. So just want to say congratulations, maybe preemptively, but looking forward to calling you Chief.
And I would like to join my colleagues and say congratulations and understand that it's not an easy job. And I know I would not want it at all. I know it's a 24/7 job, of course, but I do charge you, Chief, to keep working with your command staff and your policemen. And also with the citizens, that's the most important. But anything that this council can do to support you and your staff and your policemen, please let us know. I'm sure that you have all our numbers and everything. Again, congratulations to you and wish you great success. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item pass. Congratulations, sir.
Announcements.
District 1, Councilman Penn.
No announcements.
District 2, Councilman Carroll.
No announcements, Mr. President.
District 4, Councilman Reynolds.
No announcement.
District 5, Councilman Days.
Mr. President, I'd like to join my colleagues in congratulating Director Smith and Chief Jackson on their appointments. I want you both to know that I have the highest amount of respect and admiration for both of you. I think you've both done a tremendous job, and you're going to be, now that you're in these positions, I know the city will move forward from strength to strength with your help. Number two, I'd like to thank the finance director, the deputy director, and the city council and the administration for us having a smooth budget process this year. A smooth budget process should not be interpreted by anybody that there wasn't very important, direct, intricate looks by the city council into the proposed budget. We had several hearings on the budget. We listened to the public. The budget is also very careful, always very carefully adopted by the city council. And I think the city council, and as I said, the members of the administration did a great job this year in allowing us to move forward in a timely manner within the constraints of the Zogby Act, which requires us to adopt the budget by September 20th. So thanks, everybody. I was very happy to hear, Chief, that the department is going to conduct a red light blitz over the next several days at specific locations throughout the city. I was, you know, we looked at, city council looked at doing something with respect to cameras and the traffic lights several years ago. The problem has, in my mind, has gotten successively worse. It's worse now than it was 2 years ago. It's just unbelievable to me the number of people we have, not just running yellow lights, running red lights, running right through red lights. And I noticed that 812 violations have been issued this year, 1,134 last year. And that's just when the police are there to see it. So the actual number of people running red lights is far higher than this number. And of course, what's happened is the numbers of injuries and deaths have increased because the number of people running red lights has increased. Now, I'm delighted, as I say, that you're going to post some police officers to look at these intersections, but how much easier would it be if we had cameras on the red lights at important intersections throughout the city, and so that we wouldn't have to divert the police officers to sitting there in their patrol cars at particular intersections. And all we can do by this I commend you for it, but it's not going to be a permanent solution. We have a permanent solution that is available to us if we can all get together and we can get the authorization through the legislature. And I hope the city council will work together to petition our legislative delegation to get the appropriate legislation passed through the legislature so that we can begin to address this epidemic problem with respect to public safety. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Days, and I'd like to piggyback behind that, and I would like to ask our attorney to draw that up because I really do believe that cameras is one of the solutions, especially at dump sites. I mean, there are several dump sites throughout the city of Mobile, and I just don't understand why we cannot put a camera up to catch these people and that is dumping in our communities and everything, but it's not my time for announcements. So, District 6, Councilman Woods. No announcements. District 7, Vice President Gregory.
Thank you. This will be a nice little piggyback then on the red lights. We do have a Public Safety Committee meeting coming up next week. One of the topics will be red light runners. So maybe by then you might have some information on the number of tickets and things that happened during your blitz. That would be great to be able to see. We'll also talk about potentially some sort of resolution to send to the legislature asking about red light cameras. I know there are pros and cons when it comes to red light cameras, and we've talked about those off and on for years, but it certainly will be a good time to address that again, as well as any other means that we might have at our disposal to try to help slow down these red light runners and teach everybody what the yellow light actually means. So that is all for now. Again, the Public Safety Committee will meet next week at 1 o'clock on the 9th floor.
Thank you, Vice President. To the citizen of District 3, especially Odell community, on next Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m., we will be having a community meeting, inviting all the residents, especially in the Odell community, to come out next Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. at Taylor Park, which is located on Baltimore Street on next Thursday. Anything from the administration? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Properly moving second in the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?